My fiancé called off our wedding 20 minutes before the ceremony, and then his best friend stepped in. My life was supposed to be a fairy tale that day. Instead, it became a literal disaster. 20 minutes before I was supposed to walk down the aisle, a text message tore my world apart. The words still echo in my mind, "I can't do this. I'm in love with someone else. I'm so sorry." My hands were trembling so violently, I almost dropped the phone. Just beyond that door, I could hear my bridesmaids, blissfully unaware, laughing about God knows what. 150 people were out there, in their seats, probably checking their watches, wondering what was taking so long. My dad had knocked 5 minutes earlier. "It's time, sweetheart." I couldn't even answer. 20 minutes. That's all the time he gave me. 20 minutes before I was supposed to walk down that aisle. 6 years of my life. 6 years we built together. And he couldn't even tell me to my face. Not even a phone call. Just 14 words, delivered like a torpedo straight to my heart. My maid of honor, my sister, burst in without knocking. She found me on the floor, still in my $4,000 dress, mascara probably streaked down my face. She didn't ask what was wrong. She just saw it. Took the phone from my shaking hand, read the message. I watched her face shift, confusion, then horror, then pure, unadulterated rage. "That absolute coward," she whispered, then, louder, "that FANG coward." And then, she had to be the one. My sister, who hates confrontation, had to go out there and tell everyone. Tell 150 guests that the wedding was off. I could hear the murmur, even from in there, growing louder. My mom was crying. Someone's aunt loudly wondered if I was pregnant. My dad, I swear, sounded like he wanted to commit murder. I snuck out the service entrance. Couldn't face them. Couldn't bear the pity, the whispers, the knowing glances. My sister and my best friend practically carried me, while everyone else was distracted by the chaos. $60,000. Gone. The venue, the flowers, the band, the food, every single penny. All of it vanished. His best friend found me in the parking lot. Me, sitting on the curb in my ruined wedding dress, crying so hard I couldn't breathe. He just stood there, looking utterly gutted, speechless. We'd known each other for 6 years, always friendly through my relationship, but never close. What do you even say when your best friend destroys someone like this? I didn't know, he finally managed, his voice thick with shock. I swear to God, I didn't know. I looked at him, and I believed him. You can't fake that kind of raw devastation. The first 3 days after were a blur, a haze of humiliation that just kept finding new ways to sting. Of course, I found out through social media. Where else? My ex had run off with a coworker. She was 24. I was almost 30. Blonde, where I'm a brunette. Perky, where I am, well, realistic about gravity and time. But it wasn't just that he ran off with her. He posted a picture. That very same weekend. The weekend of our supposed wedding. They were on a beach, his arm around her waist, both of them grinning like they'd won the lottery instead of obliterating my entire life. The caption was some sickeningly poetic nonsense about, "When you know, you know." I wanted to throw up. The worst part wasn't even the betrayal itself. It was the clichés. Everyone was thinking them, even if they were too polite to say it, almost 30 and left at the altar. Wasted her best years on him. Poor thing. I could see it in their eyes at the grocery store, at the bank, everywhere. This town wasn't big enough for me to hide. On day 4, my body finally gave out. I had my first panic attack. Full-blown. Couldn't breathe. My chest was crushing. I was convinced I was dying. My sister found me on my bathroom floor and almost called an ambulance. I couldn't go back to work. Couldn't face the office, where everyone knew. Where everyone pitied me. Where they were probably all gossiping about how they totally saw it coming. I lost 5 pounds in 2 weeks, not the fun way. This was the crying so hard you throw up way. The food tastes like cardboard way. The what's the point way. On day 8, his best friend showed up at my door. With Thai food. And he wouldn't take no for an answer. He let himself in with the spare key I'd apparently given him at some point during years of double dates and game nights. I must have looked absolutely terrifying because he actually flinched. "You need to eat something," he said. Unpacking containers like this was normal. Like his best friend of 15 years hadn't just detonated my entire existence. "Why are you here?" I asked, my voice like gravel. "Because he's a coward," he replied. "And you don't deserve this." "Did he send you?" I pushed, my cynicism thick. "I haven't talked to him since the wedding." Or, not wedding. Whatever. He sat on my couch, in my living room, which was a disaster zone surrounded by wedding gifts I hadn't dared to return. I told him we're done. 15 years of friendship, and I told him to go to hell. I didn't know what to say. A tiny part of me wanted to ask why. Why throw away 15 years for someone you barely knew? But mostly, I just felt this overwhelming wave of something I couldn't quite name. Gratitude, maybe. Or just the first moment in 8 days where someone actually chose me. We ate pad thai in silence, me trying desperately not to cry again. God, I was so tired of crying. I keep thinking, I finally broke the quiet. What if there's something wrong with me? What if he saw something broken that I can't see? He looked at me like I'd just insulted his mother. Don't do that to yourself. He's the one who's broken. 2 months after the not wedding, he showed up at my door again, this time with an insane proposition. "We're going out," he announced. "Not like that. Just out. You need to remember what the outside world looks like." I was in sweatpants, my hair unwashed for 3 days. "I'm fine here," I mumbled. "You're not fine." "I'm not fine. We're going to be not fine together, somewhere that isn't this apartment." He took me to a dive bar 40 minutes outside of town, a place where nobody knew us. It was dark, anonymous, and absolutely perfect. We sat in a corner booth and just talked. Actually talked. Maybe for the first time ever, without our significant others around. It turned out we were both processing some serious heartbreak. His girlfriend of 4 years had left him 6 months prior. Said he was emotionally unavailable, married to his job. He laughed when he told me, but it wasn't a happy sound. "I thought we were fine," he admitted, nursing his second beer. "Isn't that stupid?" She was telling me she was unhappy for probably a year, and I just kept thinking she was stressed about work. "At least she told you to your face," I blurted, and immediately regretted it. "Wow, bitter much." But he just nodded, like I'd made a valid point. We talked for 4 hours. He told me about his family, his job, his fear of ending up alone. And I told him things I'd never told anyone. Not my sister, not my best friends, certainly not my ex. I confessed how I always felt like I was performing in my past relationship, trying to be the girl he wanted instead of just being myself. How I was terrified I'd wasted 6 years on someone who was just tolerating me until something better came along. "You weren't performing," he said, with an intensity that caught me off guard. He was just too blind to see what he had. After that night, we started texting every day. Stupid stuff, mostly memes, complaints about work, pictures of dogs we saw on the street. But it helped. It made the days feel less like drowning. My friends noticed immediately. 3 weeks in, my best friend cornered me at lunch. "Is something happening with you and him?" "No. God, no. We're just friends." I insisted. His ex-best friend, who probably knows more about your ex than anyone. This is complicated territory. Nothing was happening. And at the time, I really, truly believed it. But here's the thing, he didn't treat me like I was broken. Everyone else walked on eggshells, spoke in soft voices, carefully avoided any mention of relationships or weddings or anything that might remind me of my public humiliation. He just treated me like a person. He argued with me about movies, made fun of my coffee order, and called me out when I was being ridiculous. It was the first time in 2 months I felt normal. My sister warned me it was dangerous to get so close to him. My mom said I clearly wasn't thinking straight. Even my therapist raised an eyebrow when I mentioned how much we were talking. Everyone had an opinion about what I should or shouldn't do, who I should or shouldn't trust. But I ignored all of them. Because for the first time since that devastating message, I didn't feel like the woman who was left at the altar. I just felt like me. By the way, if you're still listening to this mess, make sure to hit that subscribe button. More wild stories are definitely coming your way. We fell into a routine that felt both dangerous and necessary. Morning runs 3 times a week. Art exhibits on weekends. Pizza and terrible movies on Friday nights. He even helped me sell all the furniture I'd bought for the apartment my ex and I were supposed to share, the dining table for 8, the king-sized bed, the matching nightstands. Each piece sold felt like shedding dead skin, letting go of a future that would never be. I started noticing the little things. The way he remembered I hated cilantro and always ordered accordingly. How he'd text me stupid jokes on bad work days until I laughed to spite myself. The fact that he actually listened when I talked, instead of just waiting for his turn to speak. Small things that shouldn't have mattered, but somehow, they did. One Friday night, after too much wine and a surprisingly good movie, there was that moment. We were on my couch, closer than usual. The air shifted. I could feel it, that electricity, that possibility. He looked at me like he saw something worth looking at, and God, I had missed that feeling. He leaned in slightly. I froze. Then reality slammed into me. I practically leaped off the couch. I can't, I blurted, my heart hammering. I can't be your rebound, or you mine, or whatever this is. The hurt in his eyes was immediate and gutting. You think that's what this is? He asked. I don't know what this is. I cried. I just know I'm a mess, and you're his best friend, and none of this makes sense. Ex-best friend, he corrected quietly. Still. I stopped myself, not wanting to say it out loud. Thinks what? That we were together before, I mumbled. That you're the reason I cut him off. He stood, running a hand through his hair. I don't care what people think. Well, I do. I shot back. I already look pathetic enough without adding homewrecker to my resume. You didn't wreck anything, he said, his voice firm. He did that all by himself. But he left right after that, and the air felt wrong. I spent the entire night staring at my ceiling, my mind a whirlpool of thoughts. Did I still love my ex? Was what I felt for this man real, or just gratitude mixed with loneliness? Was I using him as a band-aid for a wound that hadn't even begun to heal? The worst part was my mom's voice in my head. She'd already called him a rebound guy, said I was clearly trying to get revenge on my ex by dating his best friend, that it was messy and beneath me. As if I planned any of this. As if I wanted to feel this confused, and terrified, and alive, all at once. I didn't text him for 3 days. He didn't text me either. The silence was deafening. I missed him constantly, which terrified me even more. What if everyone was right? What if I was just latching onto the first person who showed me kindness after my world imploded? On day 4, at 2 in the morning, I was lying awake, wondering if I'd ruined the one good thing I had, when my phone buzzed. Can't sleep either. I stared at the message for a full minute before responding. No, me neither. This sucks. And just like that, we were talking again. But something was different now. There was this awareness between us, an unspoken thing neither of us knew what to do with. The question wasn't whether something was there anymore. It was whether either of us was brave enough to acknowledge it. The universe, apparently, has a sick sense of humor. Because guess who showed up drunk on my doorstep at 11 at night, 3 months after destroying my life? You guessed it. My ex. He was a wreck. Actually falling apart. Stumbling. Crying. A barely coherent mess of a human being. For a second, I just stared at him through the peephole, frozen. Part of me wanted to pretend I wasn't home. The other part, the petty part, wanted to open the door just to see how low he'd sunk. I opened the door. Look, I'm not proud of it, but I'm human. She cheated on me, he slurred, practically falling into my apartment. The amazing, perfect woman I left you for. She was using me the whole time, sleeping with her boss to get promoted. I was just the cover story. I should have felt vindicated. And part of me did. There was this dark, ugly satisfaction in watching karma work. But mostly, I just felt tired. And angry. And profoundly confused about why he was doing this to me now. You need to leave, I said. But he was already on his knees. Literally, on my living room floor, crying. I made the biggest mistake of my life. You were always the one. Always. I was just too stupid and scared, Anne. I don't know. I just panicked. Please, please, just let me make this right. Every fantasy I'd ever had about this moment, and believe me, I'd had them, involved me being cold, powerful, saying something devastatingly clever. In reality, I was standing there in my pajamas, feeling like I was going to be sick. Hearing him say, "You were always the one," was somehow worse than the breakup text. It meant he knew. He knew what he had. And he threw it away anyway. I called his ex-best friend. Didn't even think about it. Just automatically reached for my phone and dialed. He answered on the first ring, even though it was almost midnight. "He's here," I said. That's all I needed to say. He was at my place in 15 minutes. Jaw tight. Eyes hard. The interaction between them was brutal. No yelling, which somehow made it worse. Just cold, clipped words as he physically guided my ex out of my apartment. My ex tried to argue, to explain, but he was too drunk, too pathetic to be coherent. After they left, I sat on my couch, shaking. He came back 20 minutes later, let himself in with the key I apparently never asked for back, and just looked at me. "Do you still love him?" His voice was carefully neutral, but I could see the fear underneath. "I don't know," I whispered, and I hated that it was true. I hated that I didn't know. He nodded slowly, like this is what he'd expected, and it absolutely killed me. But what was I supposed to say? 6 years doesn't just evaporate because someone treats you badly. Neither does the possibility of something new. My ex launched a full-court press after that. Flowers at my office. Texts at 3 in the morning. Accidentally showing up at places he knew I'd be. Each message was a variation of, "I'm sorry, I was wrong. Give me another chance." My coworkers noticed. My boss pulled me aside, asking if I was okay, if I needed security. I was drowning, caught between two terrifying versions of a future. The safe one, 6 years of history, familiarity, the life we'd planned. And the terrifying one, something new, with someone who knew me better after 3 months than my ex did in 6 years. Then, a text, "Meet me for lunch." Day 7 of his campaign. Just to talk. Foreclosure. I stared at the message for an hour before finally responding, "Okay." When I told him about it, his face did something complicated. "You're going to go back to him, aren't you?" he asked. "I don't know what I'm going to do," I admitted. "That's why I need to talk to him, right?" "Of course," he said, but there was a distance in his voice that hadn't been there before. The restaurant he chose was far too nice for what this was. He'd picked it deliberately, it was where he proposed 3 years ago. Every detail of this lunch felt calculated, and I hated that I could see the manipulation now, when I couldn't before. He looked genuinely terrible, unwashed hair, wrinkled shirt, dark circles under bloodshot eyes. He'd lost weight. 10 pounds, maybe more. In my revenge fantasies, seeing him like this felt powerful. In reality, it just made me sad. Not sad enough to forgive him, but sad enough to remember he was human. "Thank you for coming," he started, his voice strained. "I know I don't deserve, just tell me the truth," I cut him off. "No performance, no manipulation. I need the actual truth." He nodded, swallowing hard. I was scared. We were about to get married, and I panicked. She was exciting and new, made me feel young again. The chemistry was just. "Did you love her?" The question came out sharper than I intended. I thought I did. "No." "Did you love her while you were with me? While we were planning our wedding, while I was trying on dresses and picking flowers and imagining our future together? Were you thinking about her?" The silence was deafening. It stretched between us like a canyon. "How long?" I asked. "What? How long were you sleeping with her before you sent that text?" His face crumpled. 3 months. 3 months. I was tasting wedding cakes while he was cheating. sending out save-the-dates while he was building a whole separate life. The betrayal felt fresh all over again, like ripping the scab off a wound that wasn't even close to healed. Did she know about me? Yes. Of course she did. 24-year-old girls don't accidentally fall for engaged men without knowing exactly what they're doing. She wanted the thrill, the drama, the ego boost of being chosen over the fiancé, and he was stupid enough to give it to her. You didn't just leave me, I said, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. You could have left me. Could have been honest. Ended things like an adult. Given me dignity. But you let me plan a wedding. Let me be excited. Let me tell everyone how happy I was, all while you were making a fool of me. That's what I can't forgive. Not the leaving. The cruelty of how you did it. I know, God, I know, he cried. And I have to live with that every day. But I'm different now. I've been in therapy. I've done the work. I understand what I threw away. You understand what you threw away because you got a taste of what it's like to be on the other side, I countered, the anger finally breaking through. You didn't grow. You just got hurt the same way you hurt me. And now you want me to fix it? I'm not your redemption arc. He reached across the table for my hand. I pulled away. Please, he whispered. 6 years has to mean something. It did mean something, I said, standing up. My hands were shaking, but my resolve wasn't. It meant I wasted 6 years on someone who didn't see my value until I was gone. Do you know what that does to a person? To know that the man you loved had to lose you to figure out you were worth keeping? I left him there, surrounded by the ghosts of our might-have-been life. And I didn't look back. When I got to my car, I sat in the driver's seat for 10 minutes, just breathing. And then I did something that surprised me. I didn't cry. For the first time in 3 months, I didn't cry. Instead, I called him. Not my ex. The other him. I need to see you, I said. Right now. He met me at my apartment, and the second I saw his face, everything I'd been holding in came pouring out. I don't know if I'm ready for this. For us. I don't know if I'm using you to feel better about myself, or if what I feel is real. And that's terrifying, because you deserve better than being someone's emotional crutch. But when I'm with you, I can breathe. When I'm with you, I'm not the woman who got left at the altar, or the pathetic ex, or any of the things people see when they look at me. I'm just me, and that's worth something, right? That has to be worth something. I was rambling, barely making sense, but he just stood there, listening with an expression I couldn't read. I told him no, I continued. I told my ex no. But I need you to know. I hesitated. For a second. I thought about it. About going back to what was safe and familiar. And I hate myself for that, but it's the truth. And you deserve the truth, even if it makes me look terrible. He was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was careful, measured. Are you choosing me because you want me, or because you're done with him? Does it matter? Yes. And there was real pain in that word. It matters to me. I'm not a consolation prize. I'm not the good enough a guy you settle for after the one you really wanted destroyed you. If we do this, I need to be your choice. Not your backup plan. Not your revenge. Your actual choice. That's not fair. I said, even though I knew it absolutely was fair. None of this is fair. You think I wanted to fall for my best friend's ex-fiancé? You think I planned any of this? I cut off 15 years of friendship for you. 15 years. And I don't regret it, because what he did was unforgivable. But don't act like I'm not taking risks here, too. I never asked you to do that. I know. That's what makes this so messed up. Neither of us asked for any of this, but here we are. And I need to know if you're actually here with me, or if you're still half somewhere else. We were yelling now. Actually yelling. And it was the first real fight we'd had. It was ugly and honest and absolutely necessary. You want me to have all the answers? I shouted. You want me to be completely sure and healed and ready? I was supposed to be married right now. I was supposed to be on my honeymoon. Not standing here, trying to figure out if I'm emotionally capable of starting over. So, no, I don't have all the answers. But I know I want to try. Wanting to try isn't enough. Then what is? What do you need from me? Time, he said finally. I need time and space. Because right now, I'm too close to this. And I can't tell if you actually want me, or if I'm just convenient. He left. Actually left. And I was standing in my apartment alone, feeling like I just lost something important, without fully understanding what it was. We didn't talk for 10 excruciating days. 10 days where I checked my phone constantly, typed and deleted 100 messages, driving myself insane wondering if I'd screwed up the one good thing I had. My therapist had a field day with this, making me do exercises on codependency, self-worth, and learning to be okay, alone. I hated every second of it, but deep down, I knew she was right. I journaled. I cried. I ran until my legs gave out. I had brutally honest conversations with my sister, who told me I needed to figure out who I was, without defining myself by either man. You keep asking if you're ready for him, she said. Maybe ask if you're ready for you. On day 11, I showed up at his apartment at 10 at night, without calling first. He opened the door in sweatpants and a ratty shirt, looking as exhausted as I felt. I'm choosing you, I said before he could even speak. Not because I'm done with him. Not because you're convenient. Not because I'm trying to prove something. I'm choosing you because when I imagine my future, you're in it. And that terrifies me and excites me and feels more right than anything has in months. I'm choosing you because I want to, not because I have to. He stared at me for a long moment. Then, he pulled me inside, closed the door, and kissed me like it was both a question and an answer. Dating him officially was nothing like I imagined. There was no magical moment where everything suddenly made sense. Instead, there was awkwardness, insecurity, and a whole lot of people who felt entitled to share their opinions about our relationship. The friend group we had in common imploded almost immediately. Some took my side, some took my ex's side, some tried to stay neutral and ended up alienating everyone. My ex's family blocked me on all social media, and apparently told anyone who would listen that I was seeing him before the wedding, that I was the reason my ex left, that we planned this whole thing. It was so absurd it would have been funny, if it wasn't systematically destroying my reputation. Work became unbearable. Not because anyone said anything directly, but because of the whispers, the looks, the sudden silence when I walked into the break room. Someone sent an anonymous email to my boss, suggesting I was emotionally unstable and a liability. I had to sit through a humiliating meeting, explaining that yes, I was in therapy, but no, I wasn't unstable. And how was any of this legal? The panic attack hit during a client presentation. I was mid-sentence about quarterly projections when my chest tightened, and I couldn't breathe. Everyone was staring. Someone asked if I was okay. I barely made it to the bathroom before I was on the floor, hyperventilating, convinced I was dying. My boss found me 20 minutes later, kindly but firmly suggesting I take a few personal days. I came home to find him already there, having left work early when I didn't answer his texts. I was crying so hard I could barely speak. I can't do this anymore. We should break up. This is destroying both of our lives, and it's not worth it. Don't say that, he pleaded. Why not? It's true. Your career is suffering. My career is suffering. Everyone hates us. And for what? We've been together 6 months and it's been nothing but trauma and pain, Anne. And I love you. That stopped me cold. We hadn't said it yet. Too scared, too cautious, too aware of how complicated everything was. But he said it now, looking exhausted and determined and completely sincere. I love you, he repeated. And I'm not walking away just because he's making it difficult. That's what he wants. For us to break up. For him to win. I'm not giving him that satisfaction. This isn't about winning or losing, I argued. This is about survival. Then we fight back. We documented everything. We got a lawyer. We stopped letting him control our lives. I could feel his rage, could see how much he wanted to physically confront my ex. I grabbed his arm. No. If you go over there, if you give him any excuse, he'll call the cops and play the victim. That's what he wants. For you to lose control so he looks like the reasonable one. We spent that night compiling evidence, screenshots of messages, fake social media accounts, a full timeline of harassment. It was overwhelming, depressing, and made me want to set my phone on fire. But we did it. My lawyer, because apparently, I needed a lawyer now for my ex-relationship drama, reviewed everything and confirmed we had grounds for a restraining order and possibly a harassment suit. The next month was the darkest period of my entire life, and that's saying something considering where I started. My ex didn't stop. If anything, he escalated. He sent flowers to my office with cards that read things like, remembering better times, making them look romantic to my coworkers, but feeling like a direct threat to me. He'd show up at places he knew I'd be. He filed a complaint with my professional licensing board, claiming I was unstable. I seriously considered ending things, just to make it stop. I told him multiple times that I should just move to another city, start over somewhere he couldn't touch me. Every time, he'd say the same thing, I chose this. I chose you. And I choose you again. Every day. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. 2 of my ex's coworkers reached out independently, offering testimonies. Turns out he'd been pulling similar manipulation tactics at work, and they were tired of covering for him. They confirmed he'd been orchestrating this entire campaign, even providing email evidence of him planning the fake accounts. It was enough. The restraining order went through faster than expected. With the testimony from his coworkers and the documented evidence of systematic harassment, the judge didn't even hesitate. My ex was ordered to stay at least 100 yards away from me, from my workplace, from my home. No contact of any kind. Violation meant jail time. The look on his face when he was served is something I'll never forget. Pure shock. Like he genuinely didn't think there would be consequences for his actions. Like he thought he could just keep tormenting us indefinitely, and we'd eventually break. His lawyer tried to argue he was just trying to reconnect with an old friend, and that I was being dramatic. The judge actually laughed. Not a mean laugh, but more like she'd seen this exact story 1,000 times and wasn't buying it. The professional consequences for him hit harder than the legal ones. HR at his company opened an investigation after his coworkers came forward. Turns out, using company time and resources to stalk your ex is against corporate policy. Who knew? He was removed from a major project, lost a promotion, and his professional reputation took a hit that would follow him for years. Then came the social media implosion. He made one last desperate post, playing the victim, something dramatic about being persecuted for loving someone, and the justice system failing men. It might have worked if his ex-girlfriend, the one he cheated on me with, hadn't commented publicly, exposing that he'd cheated on her too, with someone from his gym while they were together. The comment section turned into a war zone. People he worked with, friends from college, even his cousin, all coming forward with stories about his lies and manipulation. It was brutal. It was public. And it was exactly the kind of exposure he tried to inflict on us. I didn't take any joy in watching his life fall apart. Mostly, I just felt tired. Vindication is exhausting when you never wanted to fight in the first place. My family finally came around. My mom, who'd spent months side-eyeing him and making pointed comments about rushing into things, saw how he stood by me through the worst of it. She watched him handle my panic attacks with patience, deal with my family's skepticism with grace, never once making me feel guilty for the mess my ex created. She pulled me aside one Sunday. I was wrong about him, she said. He's good for you. Coming from my mom, that was basically a marriage blessing. We took a weekend trip to the beach, just the 2 of us. Our first real vacation since everything started. We didn't talk about my ex, didn't check social media. Didn't think about restraining orders or lawyers. We just existed. We walked on the beach, slept in, ate too much seafood, had lazy morning sex and afternoon naps. We remembered what it felt like to just be a couple, instead of survivors of a war zone. One night, sitting on the beach watching the sunset, he said, I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. For something else to go wrong. Me too, I admitted. Is that just who we are now? People who can't relax because we're waiting for disaster? Maybe for a while, he said, pulling me closer. But I think we're allowed, after everything.
Yeah.
I'm glad we made it through, he murmured. We're not through it yet, I reminded him. We've still got the lawsuit, and who knows what he'll do after. Stop, he interrupted gently. Just for tonight, can we pretend we're through it? Can we pretend we're just two people on a beach who don't have a crazy ex trying to ruin their lives? So, we did. We pretended we were normal. That our relationship started organically, instead of in the wreckage of someone else's cruelty. That we didn't have baggage and trauma and lawyers on speed dial. For one perfect night, we were just us. When we got back, I slept through the entire night for the first time in a year. No nightmares about weddings or texts or my ex showing up. Just sleep. Real, actual sleep. I woke up next to him feeling something I hadn't felt in so long, I almost didn't recognize it, safe. I felt safe. It wasn't over. The legal stuff would drag on for months. The social fallout would take time to settle. There would be more therapy, more conversations, more moments of doubt and fear. But standing in my kitchen that morning, watching him make terrible coffee and sing off-key to the radio, I thought, maybe we're going to be okay. Not perfect. Not without scars. But okay. And right then, okay, felt like everything. 1 year to the day after the wedding that didn't happen, we were living together in a modest 2-bedroom apartment that was ours. Not mine, not his. Ours. The furniture didn't match. The kitchen was too small. The neighbors upstairs had a toddler who apparently practiced tap dancing at 6 in the morning. It was perfect. Life isn't a fairy tale. We fought about dishes in the sink and who forgot to buy milk and whether we could afford to eat out twice in 1 week. He left his shoes in the middle of the floor. I took forever in the bathroom. We were learning each other's rhythms and annoying habits, and all the small ways you have to compromise when you actually build a life with someone, instead of just dating them. I still had bad days. Days where I saw a wedding photo on social media and felt that old, familiar panic. Days where I wondered if everyone still thought of me as the woman who got left at the altar, instead of just in me. My therapist said it would fade with time. That eventually, the wedding that didn't happen would just be a thing that happened, not my defining moment. I wasn't there yet, but I was getting closer. He carried his own guilt. Real, persistent guilt about ending his friendship with my ex, even though everyone agreed my ex deserved it. 15 years is a long time to just cut someone out. And some days, he mourned that loss more than others. We talked about it in therapy, both individual and couples, because apparently, we were those people now, who had multiple therapists. It helped. On a random Thursday evening, while we were doing dishes after dinner, he said, "I want to marry you." I almost dropped the plate I was holding. What? Not like, I'm proposing right now. He quickly clarified. Well, actually, I guess I am. But not the way people usually do it. He turned off the water, faced me fully. I just mean, I want to build a life with you. A real one. Do you want that too? It was possibly the least romantic proposal in history. No ring, no candles, no getting down on one knee. Just him, standing in our tiny kitchen, dish soap on his hands, asking me the most important question anyone had ever asked me. I'm scared, I admitted. What if this ends like, it won't? You can't promise that. You're right. I can't. But I can promise that if it does end, it won't be because I texted you 20 minutes before the wedding. It won't be because I was too cowardly to face you. Whatever happens, we face it together. That's the promise. I was crying, which was embarrassing, but also appropriate. Yes, I choked out. I want that too.
Yeah.
But nothing big. Number 300-person event, no elaborate venue. Just us, and the people who actually matter. Deal? We got married 3 months later at a friend's property outside the city. 15 people total, our families, our closest friends. My sister as maid of honor, his brother as best man. Someone's friend played guitar. My sister-in-law made the cake. It was casual and imperfect, and it cost about as much as the flowers alone cost for the wedding that didn't happen. I wore a simple dress I bought off the rack. No veil this time, veils felt cursed. He wore a suit he already owned. We wrote our own vows. His were about second chances and choosing to build something real. Mine were about learning that love isn't performance. It's showing up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. My ex wasn't mentioned once during the entire day. Not in the speeches. Not in the conversations. Not even in my thoughts. He had become irrelevant, which felt like the ultimate victory. Not because I hated him, I didn't, not anymore. He was just a person who made terrible choices that inadvertently led me here. And here was exactly where I wanted to be. During our first dance, to a song we actually both liked, not some generic wedding song, he whispered, "No regrets about this?" None. About how we got here. I thought about it honestly. About the humiliation and pain and public spectacle of that cancelled wedding. About the months of depression and panic attacks. About how much easier my life would have been if none of it happened. I regret the pain, I said finally. But I don't regret where it brought me. The reception ended early because we were all tired and someone's kid needed to go to bed. There was no grand exit, no sparklers, no vintage car. We just said our goodbyes, loaded up the leftover cake, and drove to our apartment. Our home. We spent our wedding night on the couch in sweatpants, eating cake straight from the container, watching terrible television. It was the best day of my life. Not because it was perfect or dramatic or worthy of a magazine spread. Because it was real. Because we were real. Because I chose this, chose him, chose us. And he chose me back. Every single day, we choose each other. That's what marriage actually is. For years after the wedding that didn't happen, I'm standing in our small house at 3 in the morning with a screaming baby who has decided sleep is for the weak. My husband, still weird to say that sometimes, stumbles out of the bedroom looking like death warmed over, takes our son from my arms without a word, and starts doing the bounce walk that sometimes, maybe, if we're lucky, results in sleep. This is my life now. Dirty diapers and spit-up stains. Arguments about whose turn it is to do the midnight feeding. We're not rich. We're barely middle class. The house needs work we can't afford. We drive cars with over 100,000 miles on them. We split a streaming service subscription with my sister to save money. It's completely, utterly ordinary. And I love it so much it physically hurts sometimes. My ex moved to another state about 2 years ago. Got married to someone else, apparently had a kid, lives a completely separate life that has nothing to do with us. We heard about it through mutual friends who still try to maintain some kind of neutral Switzerland position. I felt nothing when I heard. No anger, no satisfaction, no curiosity. Just a mild, good for him. And then I went back to worrying about whether our son's rash was normal or needed a doctor visit. That's healing, I guess. When the person who once destroyed your entire world becomes just background noise. When you stop checking their social media or wondering what they think about your life. When they become genuinely irrelevant. I was cleaning out our closet one Saturday, a task I'd been avoiding for approximately forever, when I found a box from the old apartment. In it, preserved like some kind of archaeological artifact, was the invitation from the wedding that didn't happen. My name and his name, in elegant script. The date that will always be marked in my mind as both the worst day, and somehow, the beginning of the best thing that ever happened to me. I took it downstairs and showed my husband. Look what I found. He stared at it for a long moment. Our son was asleep on his chest, drooling on his shirt. Wow, he said softly. That feels like a different lifetime, doesn't it? I sat next to them carefully, not wanting to wake the baby. That woman feels like a stranger to me now. Would you change it? He asked. If you could go back, knowing everything that happened after, would you change it? I've thought about this question a lot over the years. In therapy. Late at night when I can't sleep. During the hard moments when I questioned every decision that led me here. I would change him not being such a coward about it, I said. Would have saved everyone a lot of pain and money. But the actual ending of that relationship? I looked at our son, at this man who became my husband, at this life we built from the ruins of someone else's disaster. No, I finally said. I wouldn't change it. Because it brought me here. To you. To him. To this. Even though it sucked, especially because it sucked. The good things wouldn't feel this good if I hadn't known how bad it could be. He shifted our son to one arm and pulled me close with the other. We sat there, on our worn-out couch, in our too small living room, with our fussy baby and our mountain of debt, and our imperfect, complicated, beautiful life. There was no dramatic music, no sunset, no perfectly timed metaphor. Just Thursday evening. Leftovers for dinner. And a pile of laundry that wasn't going to fold itself. Later that night, after the baby was finally, miraculously asleep, I found my husband in the kitchen, making his terrible coffee that he insists is good. He was humming something off-key, making faces at our son through the baby monitor. Just existing in this moment, without performing or pretending or trying to be anything other than exactly who he is. "Hey," I said, and he turned around, smiling. "Hey, yourself. I love you." "I know. Did you just quote Star Wars at me?" "I absolutely did." "What are you going to do about it?" I walked over and kissed him. And it wasn't movie kiss perfect. Our son started crying again through the monitor. The coffee pot beeped. Life continued happening around us in all its messy, mundane glory. This is it. This is my happy ending. Not the absence of problems, or a life free of scars, but the undeniable presence of someone who chooses to face every single challenge with me, hand in hand. That cancelled wedding was supposed to be the beginning of my forever. Instead, it was the brutal, necessary end of a version of myself I needed to let go of anyway. The woman I was in that bridal suite, reading that devastating text message, truly believed her life was over. She had no idea it was actually just beginning. Sometimes, the best thing that can happen to you is the worst thing that can happen to you. Sometimes, you have to lose everything to truly find what actually matters. Sometimes, the person you think is your forever is actually just clearing the path for the person who truly is. My ex didn't break me by leaving. He freed me. He freed me to find someone who not only saw my worth but relentlessly fought for it. And that, my friends, more than any revenge or vindication, is the real happy ending. So, tell me, have you ever had to choose between what was safe and what was truly right for you? Or have you found an unexpected happiness in the wreckage of something else? I really want to know your thoughts down in the comments below.